Welcome to Yin. I'll explain a little bit more about Yin in a minute, but for class, you're going to need two blankets. And if you have a block, you can have a block by your side as well. And this class is going to focus more on the lower back, the legs, and the feet. So you can have two blankets or a blanket and a pillow, whatever you have for props. I'll give you a minute to collect those, or if you're watching the recording, you can always pause, go get what you need, and then come back. But we'll get started in a kneeling position. You're gonna have your toes tucked underneath you. And if you need to take a second and spread your toes apart, I know my pinky toe always gets lost under the rest of them. And then take that second blanket or pillow underneath your hips. You can kind of sneak it in between your knees and then have a little extra cushion underneath your seat as you sit back on your heels. And you'll notice as you sit back, it puts a little extra pressure on your toes and the bottoms of your feet. So just take a second and get comfortable on your toes. If you ever need to untuck them, that's fine. But this will be our first Yin posture. And this is where we will drop into our breath, tune in. So go ahead and close your eyes. And rest your hands on your thighs. Tuck your chin slightly and grow long through the back of the body, through the back of the neck. And just take two deep breaths here. Inhale, shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. And exhale, relax everything down. Do that one more time. Inhale, shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. And exhale, relax everything down. And gradually start to lengthen and deepen your breath. Notice where you are feeling this stretch. We spend a lot of time on our feet, and we often don't think about all of the stress that we're putting on our feet. We often jump to the stress of our low back or our legs or our shoulders, all of those bigger superficial muscles. You have all of these little muscles and connective tissues in the bottom of your feet. And when you spend so much time standing and walking or running, you really want to be able to also spend time just to relax, to stress, to soothe out any of the tension that you have in your feet as well. If this starts to feel a little bit intense, you can back off slightly. Maybe you lift your hips up and then set back down. But in Yin, the primary practice is to hold poses for longer. And the reason being is that after you hold a pose for a little longer than 90 seconds, you start to access the deeper fascia, the connective tissue, rather than the superficial muscle. So sometimes when you come into a pose, like pigeon, for example, where your leg is crossed in front of you and you're folding over it, you'll often tighten at the hip. But when you give yourself a little bit more time and ease into it and settle into it, you can go deeper and really open up that hip and start to bring your breath to that space. So from here, you can start to shift your torso forward, coming onto your hands and knees. can remove the blanket or pillow from underneath your seat and just pat the tops of your feet on the ground, bringing the blood back into your toes, into the tops of your feet. They're still asleep, you can keep patting your toes. But you can go ahead and shift your weight back, and we're gonna sit on our butts and come into butterfly pose. So your feet are together. Your feet can be a little bit further away from you to start. And if your feet are still a little asleep, you can bring your hands to your arches, maybe massage your arch with your thumbs. Give a little love to your feet. Really pressing your thumbs along that inner edge of your foot from the heel to the big toe pad. And if you open your feet like a book, you can go into the bottoms of the feet, working the connective tissue, soothing out any knots. And now that I've distracted you a bit, you've already been in this pose for a little bit of time. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head. You can hang on to your ankles. Exhale, start to bend your elbows and come a little bit deeper, folding forward. Start to tuck your chin slightly and get more expansive in the back side of your body. Take a few breaths here, really breathing into the back of your body. And if you have that pillow or block nearby, you can always bring it just in front of you and rest your arms or your forehead on it. And once you've come into this static position and you've ground down here, you've started to access the fascia, the deeper tissues. Pay attention to what's happening in your body. Where do you feel this? Notice if you are feeling this in the right side of the body more than the left. Notice where the breath is flowing. See if you can soften the breath a little bit more. And deepen the breath gradually as you stay longer in the posture. Take a few more breaths here. Come back to the breath. And see if you can bring your breath into those hip joints. So soften the belly, soften the hips, and bring your breath to that space. And slowly start to shift your weight back, curl your spine to come back to a neutral position. Your head can come up last. If you roll up slowly, and we'll come into our next asana or posture. So you'll bring your right leg out to the side, so kind of at a 45-degree angle, and bring your left foot in towards your right thigh. So kind of like Janu Shirshasana, but you're not folding straight over your leg. We'll be folding to the side. So here you can stay up on your blanket if you'd like. You can even stack it a bit higher if you feel like you're holding any tension in your hips. This is where you might want a block or a pillow as we gradually go into the pose, and then you can take the props away if you want to go deeper into the pose. So here, you can have your block inside your right leg. Press your hand into your block or into the floor if you don't have a block, and feel long in the back of the body. And on an exhale, start to arch up and over your right leg. You can bring your hand to the left low back, resting your elbow on your block or like a stacked pillow or blanket. You can rest your head in your hands. And with your left arm, wrap it behind you. So the back of your palm comes to your low back. And reach towards your right thigh. Roll your left shoulder back and down. And when your left fingertips can't reach anymore, tuck them into the waist of your pants. And now that we've found our way into this posture, maybe you rest the eyes. Allow your right hand to support the full weight of your head. And then bring your attention to your left low back. This might feel like the left side, but what we're really trying to get at is the QL muscle of your low back, so your quadratus laborum. Just take a few breaths here to settle in. Notice where you're feeling this. Bring the breath to that space. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can always remove the block and then rest your elbow either above or below your knee, not right on top of the kneecap. Roll your left shoulder back and down. Drop back into it. And once you've settled in to stillness, start to deepen your breath once again. And this should feel like a stretch or an opening. If it ever feels like a sharp pain, go ahead and back off. Do a gentle side stretch or come back to that prop. Come back to your breath. And we'll start to ease out of this posture really slowly. So we've gone really deep. We've accessed that deep fascia, the connective tissue underneath the superficial muscle of the QL muscle. So really start to slowly lift your torso back up. And then you can bring your right leg out in front of you and hug your left knee in. And we'll come into shoelace. So bringing your left foot over your right leg and stack your left knee on top of your right. This is shoelace, or kind of more like half shoelace. So you can stay here in half shoelace if you're already sort of feeling it in your hip. You can always reach down and remove the flesh from underneath your sit bones. Or if you want to go a little bit deeper and you know you're familiar with this posture, you can come into full shoelace. So here, if your knees aren't quite stacked, you can always bring your hands to the tops of your knees and shove them together, or maybe shift your weight forward, wiggle your hips, and your knees will fall over one another, and then come back to your seat. So in Yin, we always take a minute to really ground down in the posture, find exactly what makes us comfortable before we get a little bit more uncomfortable as we go deeper into it. So inhale, grow tall in the spine. And exhale, stay here. Stay tall and ground down in your sit bones. Start to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, slowly start to fold over your legs. So your sit bones should still be glued to the floor. Really softening and deepening the breath. You can have your hands hang onto your ankles, really grounding the feet down, or you can reach your hands out in front of you so you can bow your head forward. Take one more deep breath, really take it all in. And exhale, ground down. On your next inhale, slowly start to rise up. Hug the left knee in towards your chest. Coming out of the posture, you can extend your legs out in front of you. Wiggle your legs. Bring some blood flow back to your legs. If you felt like that was enough compression on your hips. We're going to do that to the other side. So bringing your left leg out to the side, your right foot in towards your left thigh. Ground down through both sit bones. If you want that block or a pillow nearby, bring it over to the other side. Just take a moment and make sure that you're not seated on just the right sit bone, but that you're on both. And then we'll slowly start to lean over the left leg, bringing that elbow to your prop and resting the head in your left hand. Really allowing the full weight of the head to drop into the hand so we can focus on the low back. Shrug your right shoulder back and down, and with the back of the palm towards the back of the body, reach that hand back towards your left thigh. Inhale to create more space in the right side of the body. And then when you're ready, you can tuck your right hand into your waistband so that hand isn't actively reaching. And gently close your eyes. Start to bring your awareness to the right lower back. Start to guide the breath in that direction. And notice if this side feels any different from the other side. You can always stay here if this is a deep enough stretch, or you can go a little deeper, bringing the elbow to either side of the knee, resting your head back down. Yin does allow for moments of silence. And when there is a moment of silence, notice where your mind goes. And instead of being frustrated that your mind is wandering, if it is, just let your bring yourself to be explorative of your where your mind is going. So try to acknowledge what is coming up for you. Or maybe just notice that your mind has started to wander and that you need to bring it back to the breath, back to the present moment. Slowly start to come out of this posture, really slowly. Rising yourself back up. Bringing your left leg out in front of you this time, hugging the right knee in. We'll take shoelace on the other side. So this time stacking the right knee on top of the left. can stay in half shoelace here, or you can bend the left knee under. You can see that my knees aren't quite stacked here, so sometimes I press my knees gently on top of each other, or you can crawl forward, wiggle your hips a little bit, wiggle your toes until your knees are stacked. So do what you need to do to find the posture that works for you right now. And this side's a little bit tighter for me than the other side. So just notice that in your body, if that's true for you too. And go ahead and gently close the eyes, roll the shoulders back, and feel grounded in both sit bones. Soften the belly, soften the upper body. You can hang on to the ankles or crawl your fingertips forward as you slowly start to fold over the legs. And you might just come about halfway down, or you can fold all the way over your knees. I like to keep my sit bones on the ground. And now that you've been here static in stillness for some time, you can start to go a little bit deeper. Access that connective tissue. Some of the benefits of Yin Yoga is that when you are able to access the fascia, you can increase mobility in your activity, and you can decrease fatigue and decrease body pain. Your fascia is like packaging. It really holds you all together. So you have your skeletal system and you have your muscular system, and your fascia system is like everything in between. It's your connective tissue. So when you have tension in your connective tissue, it's going to pull on your muscles, and thus you'll have these aches and chronic pains and feelings of fatigue and decreased mobility. So that's why we spend more time in yin to access the deeper tissues. And slowly start to walk your hands back. Take a breath here. You can lean back and uncross your legs, letting them extend out in front of you. Shake the legs. And then we'll bring both legs out to the side this time. So we'll start to stretch the backs of the legs now. We've gotten into the low back and the hips and the feet. Let's do everything in between. So once your legs have come out to the side, you can remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones, flex and point your feet. Maybe you roll your legs side to side. You can bring your hands to your thighs, really relax your muscles until they kind of feel like jelly. And then once your legs are quite relaxed, you can slowly start to fold forward. You can bring a block or a stack of blankets in front of you if you want to create a little bit more length instead of arching your back or rounding your back forward. You can stay upright, resting your elbows. Maybe you rest your chin. And your block can be at a different height, just whatever works for you. If you don't have a block, you can improvise. And just notice where you're feeling this. Notice if you can stay here in stillness or if you need to make an adjustment. Once I've been here for some time and I feel a little more confident in my flexibility, you can always bring your elbows down to the floor or remove one of the blankets of your stacks of blankets. And just notice if you're holding any tension at your hips. See if you can let it go. Soften the belly. And then come back to your breath, softening and deepening each breath. Bring your awareness to what's happening in your body. Notice if you started to feel sensation somewhere different from when we first began this posture. And slowly, if your hands are out in front of you, start to crawl yourself back. You can rock your seat back and wiggle your legs and zipper your legs together. We'll come to lie on our backs. You can have a pillow here underneath your head if you'd like. We'll come into a reclining twist. So just to start, go ahead and Bring your knees into your belly. You can rock side to side or make circles with your knees, massaging your lower back on the ground. Hug your right knee in towards your chest and let your left knee go long, or your left leg go long. And then bring your right arm out to the side, bringing your left hand to the outside of your right knee. Guide your right knee over the left side of your body, coming into a gentle reclining twist. Looking out over your right hand. Maybe you close your eyes to tune back in, to keep your eyes from wandering around the room, looking for something more interesting. You can bring your left hand to your right side of your rib cage. And notice that your fingers fit perfectly between the spaces between your ribs. And inhale, deepen the breath, breathe into your hand, expand the right side of your rib cage. And exhale, relax. Your rib cage will contract back in. So inhale, there's space, there's length. Exhale, contract. There's softness. You can always bring your left hand back down to your right knee and just settle in here in stillness for a few more breaths. Maybe you feel this in your right shoulder or your right hip or anywhere else that you're feeling it, just be aware of it. Shift your gaze back towards the ceiling and hug your right knee in towards your belly. Hug both knees in towards your belly. Release your right leg long this time. Hugging your left knee in towards your chest. Start to guide your right knee over the body this time. Left arm long out to the side, bringing your gaze over to the left fingertips. Use your breath to settle in and find stillness here. And just as we did on the other side, bringing your right hand to your left rib cage. Finding those spaces between your ribs. Inhale, breathe into those intercostal muscles. And exhale, soften down. Inhale, breathe in, create more space. Maybe you create space finding length between the left shoulder and the left hip. And exhale, soften. And with the eyes closed, tune into where you're feeling this on the left side. You can bring your right hand back towards your right knee and just find stillness here. Shift your head back to neutral. Hug your left knee in to your belly, and then hug both knees into your belly. Maybe you bring your forehead to your knees, give yourself one last squeeze. And then exhale, everything releases. Legs long, arms long by your side. Tuck your chin slightly to create length in the back of your neck. You can always take time to adjust here. Maybe you take your extra blanket, you can unfold it and drape it across your body to keep you warm. We weren't being terribly active in yin, so once we access those deeper connective tissues, you want to keep your body warm as you rest as well. You can rest the arms out by your side, or maybe you rest your hands on your belly. Take one last breath, really letting it all go. Inhale, fill up. Exhale, open your mouth, sigh it out. Let gravity take over. Let your body start to auto-regulate its own breath. Let go of control and just rest. If your mind starts to wander, notice the natural warmth of the body. Notice the natural rise and fall of the belly. If you feel grounded and comfortable, stay for longer. I'm going to end the recording for those of you who want to stay in Shavasana.